In February 2013, Dimitri Bontinck, an 18-year-old Belgian national, left his home in Antwerp and headed to one of the most hostile regions on earth. Within weeks, Dimitry's father Dimitri, a former soldier and UN peacekeeper, conducted a swift investigation into his son's whereabouts. Dimitri's findings prompted him to follow Dimitri to war-torn Syria. His journey, documented in the international best-selling novel Rescued from ISIS, is a fascinating insight into the mind of a man driven by love. In this episode of the Shadows Project, we will meet Dimitri as he speaks candidly about his extraordinary journey. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice
Thank
to
you
meet
very
you.
much for agreeing to this interview.
Yes.
You were telling me before that you've turned down many interviews with different people
I think I have been almost, if you can mention 5 countries in the world where I didn't pass in the media, the writing media or the vision media, it's difficult. And why? Because when my son was disappeared, it was difficult to find him, let us say. So there was media attention on the case of my son, of my missing child. And the media picked up that story. So according to these tools, it leads a part of help, in missing cases. Yeah. In every missing case, the media will be on a missing case when somebody is missing, especially when somebody is missing international, especially when someone took off to Syria, for example. So I have a successful story. More than 6,000 youngsters from Europe, they take off, they leave the family, they disappear. Mm-hmm. They're selected, recruited by a radical organization, Syria for UK, Syria for Belgium, Syria for France, to join ISIS in Syria and Iraq. I took responsibility. I couldn't stay at home and just walking around and doing nothing. I just couldn't stay and just watching. That nothing is gonna happen. So I didn't have experience in the Middle East. I don't speak Arabic. I never have been in the Middle East. So that's why there was media attention on this case.
I heard it's like about 10% of recruits come from Belgium. Is that the case?
No, from Belgium, only from Belgium. You can imagine Belgium is a very small country. Yeah. It's 11 million people in Belgium. Mm-hmm. And from Belgium it's more than 600 who take off.
So about 10%.
About 10%, yes. Yeah. But that's much. From the UK, it's more than 1,000 who take off, so that's a lot. From France, it's also more than 1,000. Mm-hmm. From Germany, from Holland, from all over Europe.
So why specifically these countries? Apart from the obvious, the open borders.
That's a good question you're asking. The organizations who are behind that, who like Syria for UK, Syria for Belgium, and they are very smart. They are like a brand, an international brand. They're very smart, and they use the weak system in our laws of democracy that we have, like freedom of religion, freedom of organization. So in democratic laws, it's they found a weakness in these democratic laws, and it's like I said, they created organizations in the name of religion. That was very easy to create, like Syria for UK, Syria for Belgium, so nothing wrong with it. We are living in a democracy. You have the right to live your religion. Mm-hmm. You have the right to express your religion. You have the right to start an organization. But they use our official laws against us, because behind this mechanism, behind these organizations, there was something else going on. There was an ideology going on. an ideology to implement all over Europe a Sharia state, and with one ideology, one world order, one world leader, even with violence or without violence, they really want to succeed. This vision they had, but they failed. But it took a long time.
My cousin, when I told him about this story, immediately he said, like, tell him he's a cunt from me, you know, straight away. And that's probably the reaction of lots of people, like you said, lots of negative press. I told his father about the story, and he saw it interestingly from the father's perspective. Like, no matter what your son does.
Look,
you know.
every they say every human being is 100% responsibility for the things he do in his life. But in my case, we are talking about a minor child, about a youngster who is weak. Youngsters, they are weak. They are weak youngsters. Okay, every human being is born with a unique DNA, but youngsters, they are always weak. Youngsters, they are looking for ideals in their life. And let us be honest, today, which ideals we have Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga. We don't have real ideals today in the time spirit we are living in. Like when we were young, you have John F. Kennedy, you have Martin Luther King. It's a bit the time spirit where we are living in. So youngsters, they are weak. They are looking for adventure. They are looking for experience. And is it the fault of the parents? It's easy to say. It's the fault of the parents, it's the fault of the education. But in this case, I think it's wrong to say that, because my son is a perfect example that he had very good parents, that he had a very good education. He's a former Jesuit. He have been in Catholic institutes. So he was. Then you can ask the question, how it is possible that he was employed, selected and recruited by this kind of radical organization. They use traps, you know. They show these youngsters and even adults, they show them a fake world. They show them a mirror that we are all brothers in our organization, in our world. It's better. Nobody have problems. There is solidarity. It's like a sect, you know. They're walking like every sect works. They use the same modus operandi like every sect. My son, he was curious, like every teenager is curious. So one day he said, they invited him to come and have a look over there. Why I should refuse? Why should I not go and have a look in this headquarters of these organizations? And what I must say, it all happens in a period that he was sad. And if you profile the whole mechanism, because I have met parents in the same tragedy from England, from the US, from Holland, from France, you can imagine, from so many countries in the world. It was always in a period where a human being was sad. One broke up with his contract with the football. My son broke up with the girlfriend. Another one loses his best friend with a car accident. So it's a fact that it was always in a period of when a human being was sad. And when a human being is sad, he can be weak. He can be weak for anything. And to put the fault then to parents or to the person himself, this is a very, it's easy to say, you know, it's very easy to say. Yeah.
So this happened when Yayoun, is this how you pronounce his name?
15
Yayoun?
years, 15.
15 years old.
15 years old.
Yeah.
And of course, what do you think? Of course we see that my son changed. Because we are Westerns, I'm an atheist, his mother is Catholic. He was grown up with a Catholic education. Of course, we seen that our son changed. Of course, we see that step by step he made a transformation. we see very well that something was going on, and then he starts change his religion. Can you imagine? You educated your child in a Catholic way, in a Western way, and from today until tomorrow, he converted to become a Muslim. He started praying 10 times a day to Mecca. Stop wearing jeans, wearing a jalaba. Of course, we see the transformation. Some people will call it radicalization. Start growing your beard and wearing a jalaba. Under influence from the wrong friends, the wrong...
How closely, I don't know because I've never read the Quran, how closely is this extreme ideology to real Islam?
Officially, they say that they are peaceful Muslims, but it's not. This is the most extreme branch in Islam. Salafism also is the most extreme branch in Islam. And what they are doing, what they are using the Quran, verses of the Quran, and they interpret their own way of versions in the Quran in a very extreme way. And there I'm coming again to the points of the laws in the Western democracies. It's a human being's right to live his religion, even in a radical way. So for authorities or organizations to make a kind of prevention or to work on these problems is not easy, because there is universal laws of freedom and religion that say it's a human being. It's right to live his religion, even in a radical way.
So Yun, what was his childhood? Was he a happy child?
He was a very happy child. He was a dream boy when he was young. There's a lot of activities, the youth organizations, sport activities. I've been in the US, in Miami. He loved wakeboarding, diving, water skiing. He had a lot of opportunities that maybe other youngsters from that age couldn't have, or just only dream about it. He had a very good education, a Catholic education, former Jesuit institutes in Belgium. But he was a seeker for the truth. He was always curious when he was young, a bit an idealist. I think maybe a bit of genes from me, from his father, and a bit an adventure boy also. But he was never violent when he was young. He loved playing with the dinosaurs. You never use them to fight with each other. You want all of them to live in harmony. So
he was a good dancer as well.
Yes. He was a very good dancer. He was such a good dancer that there was in Flanders a great talent show, Belgium Holland, Move Like Michael Jackson. That he joined that talent, and he ended as 94 from 6,000 candidates. So we had a lot of very nice, great talents that he used as a dancer. He was a dream boy.
Yayun was born in Nigeria, but grew up in Belgium's most populated and ethnically diverse city, Antwerp. At the age of 15, his peaceful and happy demeanour quickly disappeared as he embraced a new ideology. Christianity was cast aside and replaced by a radicalised perversion of the Quran, and Yayun's once idyllic childhood faded under a dark spell. here it's quite idyllic, it's quite beautiful, the town and places, but in Antwerp is it similar?
Yes, and maybe that's a part of really, he grew up in a big city in Antwerp, a multicultural city in Antwerp, and yes, in Flanders, according to living in a multicultural city, a class of civilization that is going on, racism also, and I think for him it was a bit maybe difficult because he grew up in two different worlds. You may not forget I'm white, I'm Belgian. His mom is origin from Nigeria, so my son is born in Nigeria. So my son he grew up between a mix of two different cultures, and I think that also maybe is a part of the answer of the reasons why he was weak. He had a weakness to be a victim, to fall down in these traps of these radical organizations, because they know that this kind of youngsters, that they are between two cultures, two identities, for example, and we give him a very good education in this way. When he was small, his mom took him to the place, to Africa, where he come from, to see his roots. Because for us it was very important as parents to see where did he born, who is his family there, who is the aunties and the uncles, and so. But I think for him personally, for himself, that to live in a multicultural city in a time spirit where there is racism, you may not forget his color was not white but mixed. Was a beautiful boy, by the way. But I think it's not easy sometimes to grow up between two identities and two different cultures. But to say today that that is the reason why he joined the Salafist radical organization, this is totally wrong. No? But of course they use that tool. That small weakness as a modus operandi.
In February 2013, Jeroen dreamt that the neighbourhood friend who had introduced him to Syria for Belgium 2 years earlier was praying for help. Nearly half a year had passed since they had last seen each other. In a strange twist of fate, several days later, that very same friend called Jeroen and instructed him to join him and his fellow comrades in Syria. Several hiccups along the way, which included a missed flight, a forgotten passport and a trip to the wrong airport, delayed Jeroen's arrival at the Syrian border, perhaps highlighting the fragility in his intention to fulfill his role as a jihad soldier. Well, from what I read, he joined maybe under like false pretenses a little bit.
Yes.
Like the Assad regime, terrible regime, and he wanted to help people, and he felt affected by this.
They use a fake mirror, so they walk like every sect is walking. They show videos that Assad is bombing innocent people. And then they calling, where are our brothers? Where are our brothers? Look what a war dictator is doing, killing innocent people, killing children, innocent children. Where are the heroes? Why the heroes don't stand up to come and help them? And I can understand youngsters who are a bit idealistic, who are dreaming about a better world, when they see such kind of visions. I think it's very hard just to watch and to do nothing.
It's difficult because even now, like I watched some videos on him, and on Yayun, and he seems like a little bit guarded still, you know. People want like the official apology or something, but he says like, you know, I made a mistake, but I can't change that mistake, so I try and move forward. But his intentions initially, from what I read, seemed like almost good in a way.
Absolutely.
And then he went there, and it said, like I read, within a week or so of him being on camp, and then they started.
Yes.
He was imprisoned.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you just talk about that?
Yes. He moved up under a false visions that they use. So you really move up to be an aid worker there. And once he arrived there, they took his cell phone, they took his computer, everything. They took his passport, and then against his will, they forced him to join a training camp. But that was not the reason why he took off. And against his will, they force him in a training camp, and then he wants to go home. He wants to go back home, and then they really use barbarian tactics to hold him there, punish him, put him in a prison. They even give him medicine not to think too much anymore, and beating him in the prison. So they really use barbarian tactics.
So you arrived, from my understanding, you arrived on the camp within about 3 or 4 weeks of him being detained, or was it later?
I took off to Syria. He was missing since he took off 28th February, and on 11 March I know that something is going totally wrong, because I couldn't contact him anymore.
Because he set off saying that he was going to Amsterdam with friends.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and
correct.
borrowed your suitcase.
Yeah.
And then
my suitcase.
Yeah. And even his journey to Syria.
Yeah, they took off directly from Amsterdam to Syria.
Oh, he missed the flight.
Yes,
he was dawdling
because
around.
of a burger.
Yeah. And I heard he was messaging girls. And this wasn't allowed when he was in training and things like this.
Right, correct.
So it doesn't sound, you know, it sounds like a more innocent story if you read it like this, you know.
He was a victim.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use one of his dates in one of his more than 360 statements that he made for the Belgian justice after when he returned. They really use him, and it was like a kind of injection of drug in your arm, but inside the brain. So they really brainwashed not only him, but they brainwashed all these youngsters, all in the name of religion.
But how did you find out he was in Syria?
First of all, he told us that he was going on holiday to Amsterdam, which was a lie, which was not true. And it took off 28th February. There was still contact on social media, on Messenger, that he sent me that he was in Egypt. In Egypt, I said, that was not the agreement. How it can be that he stranded up in Egypt? And he said to us that we don't have to be worried, that he was there on a campus to study. But I said, this is totally, cannot be. But okay, we believed him. And I said, keep contact. I want to come to Egypt because it's a great diving. We're both divers, so we can dive together. And he said, don't worry, when I'm on the campus, I'll keep in touch and keep contact. But everything broke. No contact anymore, his GSM totally off. And then on 11 March is the birthday of his small sister. They grow up together in great love. So on that day, no phone call from the brother, no message. That day I really know this is not normal. There is more going on than going holiday or being in Egypt for anything. And I start thinking, what could happen to where he is. But that day it's clear, no contact, the birthday of his small sister. This is really shit, you know. Yeah. And I start thinking, and I was a bit afraid because of his good friends, his brothers from the radical organization where he was a member from, that something go wrong with them, that it was somewhere in the world that we may not know. And a few days later I start picking up news about other parents with tragedy news that their child took off to Syria, members of the same radical organization. And then I start thinking, yeah, maybe he will be there. And that came in my mind like a small seed, and it didn't go out of my mind anymore. I had a feeling, really a feeling that maybe he could be there, but I was not sure. So I start every day and night, watching videos in Syria, research, until one day in March, the same month, I discovered a video with yellow flowers where I saw youngsters from the radical Muslim organizations, Profile of Belgium. They even used the Belgian language in that video. There was a boy inside that I was almost sure about it, that it was him. But in fact later I found out that it was not him, but it was a guy from Vilvoorde, also from Belgium, but who really looked like him. But when I saw that video, I said, there's no doubt. He's in Syria.
And once you discovered, you couldn't get help and go through.
No, the first something I did was, what now? Because I don't speak Arabic. I don't have any connections in the Middle East. I don't know anybody there. So the first something I did was I called my lawyer to tell him, look, I think he's in Syria. Nobody could believe it first because people were very shocked. They say, can be. Then I had only one solution, that was I made an appeal in the media that I really want to go there, to take off, to take action responsibility. I asked for people to help me. I was looking for volunteers. I'm a former soldier. I was asking maybe some former comrades from the army who would join me. You never know. Anyone, any help that I could use would be useful for me. But nobody replied. This appeal, I was really completely standing alone. Only the media appealed on this. Only two media people appealed on this. They said they came to meet me. We have connections in Syria. We have been there in the past in Syria. We can go with you, and we could help you to find your son, and then you don't have to go alone to a war country. And that's what I did. I took off 4 April, very fast.
So almost a month.
And you could ask the question, maybe because a part of my military background, that was indeed for use good. That was indeed for good to use my military background, of course.
That's the impression people understand straight away. They think like John Rambo, going to the country and
Yes, but even without my military experience, I would still have gone to Syria.
How long were you in the army?
6 years.
And where did you serve?
6 years. I've been 6 years in the Belgian army.
And you served in Bosnia?
I served in Slovenia as a United Nations peacekeeper. So to have been 6 years in the army, it was a great experience. To have that experience, to have knowledge about strategy, to have knowledge about tanks, to have knowledge about weapons, to have knowledge about battlefields. That was really useful in Syria, believe me. Because you are a bit addicted to war, it's not something new for you. Because I served 4 months in Slovenia as a United Nations peacekeeper, so it was not something new for me. I was not afraid. I can imagine I've met many parents who also want to take off to Syria to try to seek for the missing child, but they were so afraid of war, really afraid, that they couldn't take that step. So, but believe me, even without my military experience, I would still taking off to Syria. And the question is, the fact is, the first time I fell in Syria, because you must know I took off for April. I didn't know when I was there. In 10 days, can you imagine? In 10 days, I was in the right place.
Yeah,
it's a miracle.
I read that.
That is a miracle.
But they didn't. Obviously,
they hostaged me. They almost killed me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, my son was in prison.
Yeah.
And they don't even say it.
Yeah. You didn't know he was there.
No.
Yeah.
But I was at the right place. Can you imagine? Yeah. Because he could be everywhere. He could be in Damascus. He could be in Idlib. Syria is a very big country. He could be anywhere. But why it took me so fast to be in the right place in such a big country? I think that's, first of all, I think there was something in my brain that I could use a lot of information to analyze that in a very short time period to lead me to those right places and people. But it was very hard, believe me.
This is the book, Rescued from ISIS. Can you just go through the story? Like, where do you begin? Where does it start?
Actually, in fact, it started who I am, how I grew up, all my history before, how I started my career and everything, and then when my son born, of course. So in my book I wrote all the minuscule details, actually, what happened. I want to give the readers a vision to see really what lead me to my successful story to rescue my son, but also give the readers a view to really see what go on in my son, his head. So it's like bringing Frankenstein alive. It's like, for example, when I want to have Steve Jobs or Bill Gates in my house today, I will read a book about Bill Gates or Steve Jobs to really see and analyze what really go on and what really happens. That's writing, I think. I do not think that's a part of writing, you know. I'm very happy that I could wrote my successful story because it's a personal autobiography.
It's a very beautiful cover.
Yes.
Very professional. Can you just tell us something about the editors and that?
I had, I think I had a luck as a small, minuscule human being, a small, minuscule Belgium. I think I had a luck that one of the biggest editors in the United States of America, St. Martin's Press, who only work with very famous people like Michelle Obama, Elton John, Donald Trump. So who wrote their books with this editor. So I think I really had a luck that this big, great editor from New York, from the United States of America, contact me and give me the opportunity to write my story, my unique story, Rescued from ISIS. It is an international successful story, as I told you before. But that's not the reason why I wrote a book. I don't write a book because of money, because I'm not interested of money. For me personally, my own personal vision, most important was to write my autobiography for the world to see what is radicalization, what is ISIS, why youngsters are taking off to Syria, to end it in conflict.
Do you see this as like a problem that's growing?
It is an international growing problem that is still going on. For me, it was an opportunity to write about this international polemic that is still going on as a kind of awareness, not for myself but for other people in the world, to see the real truth behind all this, to see in an objective way not only what we know about the Middle East, about fighting groups in Syria, for example, but really small, minuscule details about what is really going on in Syria, and not only that, but also what can drive someone in the name of a religion, in the name of an ideology. So I see my story, my book, also as a kind of prevention worldwide, especially in this polemic where youngsters can be in a weak period in their life, to be awareness, not to fall down in a trap of this kind of radical organizations who selected to have recruited youngsters not only in a physical way but also on the internet. You can imagine that some youngsters, they are been changed, transformed in just not up to 3-4 weeks time on the internet, for example. So I'm happy that I could write all my experience, not only my experience but also experience from other parents worldwide, in my story. It's a kind of awareness and a kind of prevention, but especially to give readers an open mind, also in the whole Syrian polemic, in the whole polemic of ISIS that is going on worldwide, to really see minuscule details what they couldn't have seen before, because they only have some knowledge about what they see in the media, and that's it. I think in my book, in my story, I go really deeper and farther than that.
We talked about the media before when we talked about your unit, and I said they report the end of a story. But can you just talk about that for a moment?
There was a lot of criticism, and I love criticism, and there need to be criticizers and criticism. But some media, they just show what they want to show. Some media they cutting the truth sometimes. They just show what they want to show, and they need to have sensation. They need to have
because from what I saw online, it just paints like a picture of a boy who's still angry and imbalanced and things like this, and it tells the end of a story. But like you said, like media harassment and things like this, like you said, one reporter was outside for weeks.
Outside, yes, and it go farther than that. If you see in the digitalization, for example, in the development, in the programming, HTML, for example. If I show you tomorrow one picture from me on Google, from a media channel, if we're gonna see in the HTML programs the words to program, it's incredible how they use someone who is famous, how they use someone who is a celebrity, just to have more web on the website, more surfers to their site. It's a scandal, believe me, it's really a scandal. So that is also another reason why I'm one of the most happiest guys, people in the world, that I could really write my story in a freedom way of expression, without any disturb from anyone.
Without an agenda.
Yeah, without a secret agenda, for example, without a secret propaganda or anything, what you can imagine. Yeah.
So we were just talking about a guy from the New Yorker who wrote an article on you. He said your athletic physique and buzz cut haircut belies your reliance on whiskey and cigarettes.
He was a great guy. This guy. He, in fact, is the one who bought this bottle of whiskey. He came into my house with this bottle of whiskey because of a birthday, and he is the one who opened this bottle of whiskey with me. So, of course, birthday we drink whiskey. But after to write the story that I'm on the whiskey, it is totally wrong.
So this sort of like. This language that the press use?
Yes, that's a language that not all the press, but some of the press use, and for the press it's a sensation, a kind of sensation.
And I like to diminish.
But it's fake. It's fake news. It's totally fake news.
It's like I was saying, we could have done it with a bottle of wine.
Yeah, but you see the bottle of wine are closed, and I'm not going to open them because it's very old wine from 2001.
But the aftershave is open.
The aftershave is open.
You drink aftershave?
No, I don't drink aftershave, and you can check and see there is not much out there. So and you can smell it. It's here.
Perfect. Because it said, like, I've seen another documentary where you're in, and it said, like, use unorthodox methods to, like, what would be an orthodox method if you're going into a country, a war zone. That you've been criticised by Belgian authorities for having views about ISIS and being an independent state. Can you just talk about that?
Yes, and lucky that I don't follow the advice of my authorities, because my own authorities, foreign affairs, for example, they advise me not to take off to Syria.
Yeah.
They really advise me not to take off. They almost make it forbidden for me to take off to Syria. And even when I was in Syria, the Belgian authorities, foreign affairs, they made appeals through the media channels to warn me to return directly back home to Belgium. So you can imagine, if I listen to my own authorities, I would never have my son back.
Yeah. How did you use media to get into the country, or?
Yes, I made an appeal in the media because I was looking for volunteers, anyone who could help. For example, former comrades from the army, for example, or an organization like, for example, Doctor Without Borders, or any organization who could help me, or any business who had any experience in the Middle East, or anyone who speak Arabic, or who had connections in that country. But nobody make an appeal on my appeal, as except the media himself.
Yeah.
So
to get through the border.
Yes.
You go to Turkey.
I was escorted by a Belgian journalist.
Yeah.
It was with media. I entered with media who had experience in Syria, who had the connection of networks.
How do they get in? Are they just like...
Very easy. I'm going to show you my passports. We never enter illegal, never. Okay. We never entered clandestine, always official. It was very easy to enter Syria.
Did they stay with you the whole time, the media?
Yes, they stayed with me the whole time. Of course, we stay with Arabic people. We sleep with Arabic people. So I wrote about all this in my book because according to this experience, it was a grateful memory to see a hospitality of people and a nation who don't know me, in fact, because I was a stranger for them.
To put themselves in danger.
Yes, put themselves in danger, absolutely. And then I have really seen the real peaceful people of Islam who believe in Muhammad and in Islam, but in a peaceful way. In Syria, I've really seen the good Islam and let us say the bad Islam. So for me, that was a great experience to write about it also in my book. So I not only wrote about my successful story that I rescued my son out from the clouds from ISIS, but also about the cohesion of a nation, about the hospitality of strange people who help me, who give me a view of really the Arabic culture, the Arabic myths, anything you can imagine about that.
Give you hope for the country.
And yes, and give me hope absolutely for the country. And you can ask yourself the question: why should an Arabic people help a stranger who is not a Muslim? And because I'm just arriving there, they don't know me, who I am in a strange world, you know. But it was beautiful to see this cohesion of a nation, cohesion of people, foreigner people, Muslim people, who have really showed their solidarity to help me, to arrange meetings for me. You can imagine. I wrote all this experience in my book.
Because like love has no language really.
Yeah, and
father and son, the love for your son.
Yes. And that I think that's also one of the reasons why I succeed in my story, because there was love for my son, and I believe in love. And there was a time that they almost go wrong, that they almost killed me, that they hostage me.
Yeah. How long were you held hostage?
It was not so long, but you must know, when you're beating up, treating like an animal with handcuffs around you, with a balaclava, I've been beating, guns, weapons in my mouth. I thought it's over with me, it's gone. But I was thinking in my head, if there is love for my son, they're going to believe me. But they suspected me to be a spy, and they don't believe anything, that I was a father looking for his son. And I thought it's over with me, it's gone. So at that point, at that time, I was also thinking, was it worth to take that high risk to come to Syria? Because it was almost over with me, finished, done. And they believed me, they released me, and I was lucky because it was the most dangerous group who was active on Syria ground. I was hostage by Abu Asir, one of the highest leaders of ISIS, in his villa. He's the same leader who that same time hostage John Cantley, James Foley, and other Western journalists. So it is really a miracle that I'm still alive.
Like, you had success, maybe, I think because you said you were more maybe diplomatic, and the way you view ISIS as a separate state.
Yes, yes,
and
I view them as a separate state. I see them as a state, their own state, because they had their own state. They had their own state with their own lawyers, with their own doctors. You can imagine how it was set up. It was a state. It really was a state. So I see them as a state. So in that way, I don't arrive there as a Rambo, for example, or I don't arrive there with tanks, with generals and soldiers from Free Syrian Army. No, I arrive there without weapons in my hands. I arrive there without a military uniform or without any support or for any other Syrian fighting group. I arrive there first of all there as a father who is looking for his missing child. That's what is the first point. And the second point, I don't arrive there with violence. You know, I'm not gonna fight violence with violence. I arrive there to negotiate in a diplomatic way. So it's a scandal how they treat me so bad there, to be honest. Where's the respect for our father without weapons. Or can you imagine a human being who is at that time unarmed, totally unarmed, who is arriving there in a peaceful way, that they almost killed me.
Yeah. Were you armed at any point during the journey? Like, did you have to fight or?
No, but I have knowledge about weapons, and I've been in so many katibas and so many fighting groups. I wrote all this experience in my book. Any katiba I arrive, I did inspection about the weapons because I was integrated which weapons they use. Is it Russian weapons? Is it Kalashnikovs? Is it new weapons, for example? Are they Belgian weapons? So it was sad. It was sad to discover one anecdote in my experience. I entered a katiba in the weapon room. The first weapon that I picked from the wall, it was a Belgian weapon. So it was really frustrated.
What was the name of this weapon?
FNC. It's a Belgian factory of weapons in Herstal here in Belgium. But it was so frustrated for me. The first weapon in the weapon room that I picked from the wall, because I love to inspect weapons. It's according to the experience of my military background, military knowledge about weapons. But it was really so frustrated for me to see a Belgian weapon, to hold a Belgian weapon in my hands. At the same time, Belgian factory event. At the same time, I was looking for my missing child, Belgian child. So this was really contradictory a lot, and frustrated because I had something in my mind. It's like they deliver weapons. They are in a battle zone, in a conflict zone, weapons from my country, and our missing children are here, and the Belgian authority and Belgian Foreign Affairs is doing nothing. It was crazy a bit.
And you said you made like quick connections with people.
Yes, but I think that's a kind of my DNA and something in my brain that, when a human being is born, we have a unique DNA. Every human being and DNA, when they're born, it's unique. You can change that with education or with other things. I think I had something in my brain that lead me so fast that time to analyze so much information. You must imagine that in a very short time there was more than 1 million information that came into my brains. There, have you seen Belgium? Did you hear about Belgium? Do you have seen foreigners? So millions of information go through my brain, and in a very short time period, I need to analyze this. I need to think about strategy, about plan A, plan B. How we are going there, plan B, plan C. So I had I had something that time in my brain that was really going in and using that very fast. And I think if we analyze that, if we ask the question today why I had that, I think it's because I want to have my son. I was only focused on one point of view. I really want to find my son, and it doesn't matter. I didn't care even if I have to stay there 1 month longer or 2 months longer, not without my son. And of course, then you can ask the question: what if we could find him, for example, and what we are going to do if he said to me, "Sorry, but I'm not going back with you." This could happen, this scenario, but when I prepare and when other people around me prepared me for this scenario, I wouldn't want to hear it, because that's the last something that a father want to hear. A father who risked his life in a war zone to look for his missing child. But that could also happen. And if it was so, okay, then it was. But I would be happy just to see him, to know the reasons. What drive him, how it comes, all the details. So I'm happy that I succeed, because you must imagine there are only from Europe, more than 5,000 parents who don't have this successful story, and they have more than 1 million questions where there will be never answers on these questions. So that is a very sad tragedy. So I'm happy that I succeed, that all the questions I had, why he take off, with who, all the minuscule details, step by step minuscule, how he fallen in this trap, how he changed his religion, all the minuscule answers that I had, all the answers are in my book, and I describe all these steps, all these points, minuscule, detail by detail.
How long was it before he came home?
Totally 9 months.
9 months, yeah.
The first time when I take off to Syria, it was 4 April, I returned in May with empty hands. But I didn't give up. I didn't give up. So it was hard, you know. I think you can compare it with starting a brand, starting a new business today. 70% of people who start a business or a brand, 70% they fail. And the 30% that succeed, it's only a few people, it's 30% who succeed. Why they succeed? Because they have long-term vision. They learn from their failure, they learn from their negatives, bad vibes, for example, but they learn from their failure and they use the positivity and they don't give up. So it was hard, it's really hard, and I think you can ask the greatest people in the world today who succeed with the business, for example, like Walt Disney and Donald Trump, they all go bankrupt when they were younger, but they don't give up. But it's hard. But if you can just make that click in your head, not to give up, not to fail, even how difficult it is, and I had that, you can imagine I've give up everything. I give up everything to take off to Syria. And I let us say that I failed the first time because I returned in May with empty hands, but I don't give up. Even I get debt with all my money, I didn't care. I don't give up, and in October 2013 I succeed. And that was the most beautiful something that a human being can have in his life, I think. And then you don't care about money, you don't give a shit about anything, you know. I was the most happy guy in the world.
Jeroen received a 14-month suspended sentence for his involvement in the terrorist organisation Syria for Belgium. Prosecutors had pushed for him to be jailed for 4 years. However, he received a much lighter sentence because evidence which he had provided helped the Belgian courts to sentence the organisation's ringleader, Profile of Belgium, to 12 years in a maximum security prison. And now you try and help other families.
Yes, and after my return, I get so many appeals from other parents because they were in the same tragedy. For me, it was difficult to say no because I had two solutions. When I have my child back, it's over, it's done for me because I have my child back. It's stop, it's over. I'm not going to take any risk anymore. For who, for what? I have my son back. But you can imagine how many appeals I get from parents worldwide, from the United States of America, from the UK, from France, from Holland, from Germany, from Denmark. You can imagine, even from Australia. They all want to meet me. Because they were in the same shit, the same tragedy as me. Nobody want to help them, nobody want to go there. And for me, it was difficult to say to these parents in this tragedy, in the same shit where they were in, because I have been gone through this same shit, to say no, I don't want to meet you. I'll meet them. And what I see is the same horrible, terrible shit where they are in the tragedy. The child is missing, they don't know anything, where they are, why they take off, who is responsibility for it, who paid the ticket for the airplane to take. So many unanswered questions. And I want to help them. I want to help them. So I did a lot of new missions. You can call me a bit crazy. Maybe I am. Because why should I take off to a war zone again? To try to risk my own life, to put my own life in the bottom for someone else, his child. But I think it was I was a bit addicted, I think, adventure, and I was in the same tragedy as them, and I know what they're going through. It's horrible. It's you don't sleep anymore. It's a nightmare for these parents. So some of them they don't want to take that risk. So we don't even start a mission with some of them because they don't want to take off, and to go alone and handle all myself, that's difficult. You know, in Syria, one of the parents at least need to be with me, the father or the mother, to show the proof to them and that they are with me. So there were missions where I took off with other parents, and there are missions where we succeed. So I'm very happy for them, that the family is again in harmony, that they all, some other missions we failed, we succeed to see them, but we couldn't bring them back. So I'm happy at least that I help other people around me to try to make a better world. Yeah. But today, to take off to Syria, if you ask me the question again, should you go ever back to try to find someone? I always say no. I always say no. It's over, it's done, it's finished. But yeah, you never say never. You don't know.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting talking to you. I hope many people buy the book because it's very enlightening, and an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
In the press, Dimitri has been dubbed the Jihad Hunter, a title he wholeheartedly rejects as sensationalised nonsense. After spending some time with him, it is clear to me that despite his physical capabilities, he is a compassionate and diplomatic man. For Dimitri, writing is a labour of love, and for him words flow from his heart to the page with joy. Translated into several languages, rescued from ISIS, is Dimitri's testament to the world.